Next Book, where teachers come to discover their next great classroom read. Brought to you by Plains Literacy Council, a division of the Alabama Literacy Association.
All right, welcome to the April episode of Next Book. This is Michelle Hope, and I'm here with Kristen Farrell.
Hello, hello. Another month. Here we go.
Yeah, we're getting into the gritty state testing month.
Oh, yeah, we've got it coming up. So a great time to focus on things that make us happy. And Michelle, I think you would agree, poetry, it makes me happy.
It makes me so happy. I've loved seeing social media posts of people throwing up a poem a day.
Yes.
So I just finished a collection of poetry. Actually, it was Amanda Gorman's new one, Call Us What We Carry.
Nice.
It was really powerful, really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. That's on my TBR now. I was working with a teacher last week, so I'm a tech coach. I'm not a teacher anymore, but I was working with the teacher last week, and her activity with her students, they were creating visual poetry, and so we were making iMovies, and she introduced me to my new favorite poem. So if you have not read Valentine for Earnest Man by Naomi Shihab Nye, Michelle,
She's one of my favorites. She's incredible.
I mean, she talks about tacos in the first stanza, and she stole my heart. So I'm actually obsessed with this poem. I've already shared it with so many people. We'll share it in the Wakelet along with all of our suggestions and all of the information about this month's episode. But yeah, poetry. It's fun. It's it's not easy, but it's accessible for a lot of our students. I know that one thing that we've been talking a lot about recently are novels in verse. Have you read any good novels in verse recently?
I have. Actually, I read African Town by Irene Latham and Charles Waters.
What an amazing segue, because who better to interview and talk with this month for National Poetry Month than Irene herself. Irene, how many poetry books has she written at this point?
She really has a ton out there, and they're all incredible. She's got a novel in verse that recently came out about a robot dog. She's got African Town with the historical element. She does also write your traditional fiction. Her first book, Leaving Gee's Bend, is probably one of my all-time favorites. It's about Gee's Bend, Alabama, and the quilters are there. There's like a little historical mystery thing that happens. It's awesome.
Yeah. And for those of you who are not familiar with Irene, but happen to be listeners in the great state of Alabama, she's an Alabama author, which is just another really cool feature. She is, I think I've seen her in person a couple times. She loves doing school visits. She loves coming to workshops. So she's really easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, we've been really lucky to have her visit with Auburn so often in various ways, with the Plains Literacy Council, with the schools directly, and she's just really great to talk to. And we got to talk to her actually a little bit before African Town came out, but you guys will hear her chat about that some as well, which is really cool.
Yes, for sure. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start our conversation with Irene.
All right, here we go.
We are here with Irene Latham today. Irene is the author of more than a dozen current and forthcoming works of poetry, fiction, and picture books, including the Charlotte Huck Honor Book, Can I Touch Your Hair? Poems of Race, Mistakes, and Friendships, co-written with Charles Waters, and the Caldecott Honor Book, The Catman of Aleppo, co-written by Kareem Shamsi Basha. Winner of the 2016 ILA Lee Bennett Hopkins Promising Poet Award, she became obsessed with octopuses after reading The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery. Just like Agnes, she enjoys sending and receiving postcards.
So we are talking to Irene largely about Dictionary for a Better World today. Dictionary for a Better World was written by Latham in collaboration with Charles Waters and is published in 2020. This inspiring resource for middle grade readers is organized as a dictionary. Each entry presents a word related to creating a better word, such as ally, empathy, or respect. For each word, there is a poem, a quote from an inspiring person, a personal anecdote from the authors, and a try it prompt for the activity. In many ways, it does feel like a love letter to teachers because it's kind of like a pre-made, like, here is a great way to use poetry in your class, which I have been grateful for several times already.
Well, you've written a few collaborative books. So, what would you say is your favorite part of the collaborative writing process?
Gosh, my favorite part, I've been so lucky to have wonderful partners to work with. I think the unexpected thing has been developing the friendships. It's beyond a working relationship. It's especially when you're talking about things with Charles about Dictionary for a Better World, Can I Touch Your Hair, race, current events. I mean, we get into some deep stuff, and you can't go through that territory without being really vulnerable with each other, and just becoming, just friends. I mean, we are dear friends. I honestly cannot imagine my life without Charles Waters in it at this point. So it's a wonderful experience. That's my best part.
How did y'all meet?
We were aware of each other's work online, and then when the book Can I Touch Your Hair was in process, my editor invited me to find a poet to work with, and I didn't know Charles personally. We just knew each other's work, and but I knew him to be very kind, and I knew that we were of similar ages, and I thought maybe it could work, and so I just reached out to him via email, and his response was enthusiastic. And that is another quality you really need in a collaborator. You need to both be feeling that same sense of excitement about a project. You don't ever want to be dragging someone along. So he was equal in that, and that was really encouraging. And our friendship developed over the course of working on the book. So we didn't actually meet each other until after Can I Touch Your Hair was released into the world. And then since then we have 5 books that are under contract, and more projects that we're working on. So
that's exciting.
It's a lifetime.
As people who enjoy the collaborative result, that is really awesome to hear. Yeah.
Thank you.
What advice do you have for teachers who are struggling to find ways to inspire or encourage their students towards poetry in class?
I guess I would just say try it. Be brave. Thinking less about poetry as being intimidating or difficult to understand, and just focus on the joy of the language, and also the simple exercise of rereading a poem. It's just like a piece of music, where the more you read it over again, the more familiar the words feel, and the more invested a child can feel in it. So just even taking 5 minutes just to read the poem, start the day with the poem, end the day with the poem. You've read it twice. And then the next day you start fresh, and kids will see something different in it. So I guess just don't be scared, and take it at the simplest level. It doesn't have to be this big, what does it mean? It just is, this is the joy of language. What did you see? What did you feel? And that's it. That's all we have to do with your poem today.
Awesome. This is, and I wrote if we have time, but your Patronus is an octopus.
Yes, my Patronus is an octopus. I fell in love with octopuses reading Cy Montgomery's book about the octopus. And then, I don't know if y'all have seen My Octopus Teacher.
Cried really hard.
Yes.
Cried really hard.
I was like, this is the perfect book to pair with Love, Agnes, Postcards from an Octopus. But I love that octopuses are really flexible. They can get in and out of places. I like how clever they are. To be a poet is often to engage in cleverness and wordplay. I love how changeable they are. I think a lot of people are scared of moving words around. And so when I think about an octopus being my Patronus, a lot of it is about being willing to let some words go and change this word and transform. And being willing to transform as a human, to be curious about the world and explore and, swim. So
yeah,
really awesome.
I know. I love that.
As Harry Potter fans, we do have to ask
Yeah.
what house you would be in.
Oh gosh, I wanted so much to be Gryffindor.
Don't we all?
I did.
Don't we all?
But I'm not. Any guesses on what you think my house is?
Are you a Hufflepuff?
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Yay!
Are
Fellow
you a
Hufflepuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I did the thing on Pottersmore.
Yeah.
And when it came up, I was like, well, of course. course. I'm a
Yeah.
Hufflepuff, duh. You know? What are you?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay, we're in good company.
No
here.
Slytherin, so we're fine. So now we'll kind of segue into the second part of our episode, which will focus on Dictionary for a Better World. So do you want to start?
Yeah, I'd love to. So as I said, I've used your book in my class before. And one of the cool things about it for me when I was reading it is it's obviously meant to be instructional. How do you envision it being used in the classroom?
You know, we've heard so much back from teachers who are using it in the classroom, choosing a word a week and focusing on that word and using the different components of each spread to bounce off of and to, have children choose their own words to add to the dictionary or write an anecdote or, use the try it and see if that they can change something in their lives. So.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a little bit more about that, about how those spreads were put together? Because what's really cool is we have a word, we have the poem that goes with the word. The anecdotes are you and Charles alternating, sharing your experiences related to the world, and then, of course, the try it prompts, which are awesome.
Good. I'm so glad that you like them. So, the Charles and I were in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we were doing school visits for the week. And on the Friday we were there. It was a snow day, which you don't expect in Michigan. You know, they're like they can handle any kind of snow. But anyway, the schools were closed, so we were stuck in Michigan, and we sat there brainstorming. We had just gotten a rejection for another book from the same publisher, and we just sat there across from each other. I think we were at a Panera Bread, and somehow these words, Dictionary for a Better World. We could have the poem, we could have the quote, we could have, the whole little setup, because when the work we'd been doing with students that week was in middle school, and they were so inspiring. We were talking about the subject matter and Can I Touch Your Hair? And they were being so brave, and we wanted to really push ourselves to share anecdotes, personal things about our lives that may not be popular, that may not be easy to talk about, to challenge ourselves to move beyond free verse into forms of poetry, because we both love free verse. And to do a forum, requires a different sort of discipline. And we thought, these kids are brave enough to do this stuff. We need to be brave too. And so we love quotes. Both of us are quote collectors. And the quotes ended up being one of the more challenging parts of the collection, actually. Finding quotes, verifying quotes, finding diversity in quotes. That was a challenge. And then we knew we needed to give just a simple little way, just some small way to take action, because this work is activism, in its way. Mm-hmm. And so how can kids be empowered to just do something, and not to think they have to do something large, that you can change the world by changing your world and changing the way you see the world, and that can be very small.
So how did you build the alphabet?
We just brainstormed. And so one of the questions that came up with the editor was, okay, you've got more words for whatever letter, does it need to just be one A word, one B word? And we were just like, no, we need to include the words we want to include. And the editor, Carol Hims, who we worked with previously, just gave us the freedom to do that. And we knew we wanted it to be a weighty kind of book, we wanted it to have some substance, and so that meant including more words. And of course, we could have gone on and on, there's so many more words we would have enjoyed including and didn't have a chance to. And we've loved hearing from kids about what words they would include that aren't in the book so far. So, and the last poem in the book is the etymology of progress, and that's basically what we determined was that the dictionary is endless. Mm-hmm. You can go on and on and on. And so there's no reason to stop just with this book. This is just a jumping off place.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I think I would have to say create. Of the poems that I wrote, I would say create, because that is, especially looking back at the pandemic, and anytime I face tough times, if I can get out of my head and actually create something, whether it's a piece of music or a poem or a collage, I love hands-on art, mm-hmm. It takes me to a better place. And so I guess I would say on a very, very personal level, create would be my favorite.
Awesome.
That's
well,
great.
And I'll say on that note too, just for teachers that are listening, this book is also beautifully illustrated. It's incredible. All the pages are different. And as a teacher, I think this could be used with any grade level. Have you gotten feedback from all kind of grade levels?
Yes, across K to 12. And Mirdot Amini is the illustrator, and she's, like you said, brought a lot of beauty and just made it bright and a lot of variety in the art, which I think is, we hope there's something in this book for every kid, for every human, you know. And so we were definitely thinking of not just one age group, as hoping to create something that would have a broad appeal.
Yeah. And you say every human. I think there's also value in teachers who are just looking for something to read, not just because they want to put it in their classroom. I could see this being used for professional development with teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really great as well.
Yeah, Charles and I have done some professional development based on this book with teachers. So we've it's been a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and we're so inspired by everything you guys come up with. It's like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Those are our questions specific to the dictionary, but our podcast is called Next Book. So we're going to ask every person who we interview, what's the next book you have that you plan on reading? What's the next book you plan on reading?
So I am serving on a book award committee, the Charlotte Huck Award, which is an NCTE book award committee. So over the course of the year, I'm reading 800 books. So the stack is pretty tall. There's one that I am reading right now called The Republic of Birds. I'm on the little fantasy subcommittee, so I'm reading The Republic of Birds. So and really enjoying it. So yeah.
Very cool. We'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
The Republic of Birds.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, and I am going to go ahead and ask, and if we have time, we'll definitely want to include it. What is the next book you're writing? Because I've heard that's a historical
Alabama story, yeah. So African Town is the title of the book, and it is written with Charles Waters. Our deadline to turn in the final manuscript is actually tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
No pressure. So I haven't gotten a lot of sleep lately. There's a big burden with historical fiction to be correct. And so the small snippet, the blurb for the book is basically in 1860, after international slave trade had been outlawed since 1808, a business owner in Mobile, Alabama, made a bet that he could bring over a shipload of Africans from West Africa under the nose of the law. And he did. And those captives came to a country that was just on the verge of war. They survived slavery during the Civil War. They were emancipated, and then they really wanted to return to Africa, but the money was an issue. So instead of belaboring that point, they decided to start investing their money and buying land, and they did. And that community became called Africa Town, and the community still exists. And in 2019, the Clotilda, the ship upon which the captives were brought over, was discovered. The remains of it was discovered in the bay. And so there's a lot of activity right now in Africa Town. It's called Africa Town currently. It was African Town at the time of our story. So our story goes from 1859 to 1901 and tells that story. And it's just in many ways, it's the American dream. You've got immigrants, except in this case, people who were forced, captured, brutalized, and they survived and created something beautiful and that exists to this day to maintain their culture. So it is a beautiful, inspiring story, triumphant story, I think. And so we are very proud and honored to be bringing this story to the young audience so they can know the strength of these people.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck. I know this next 24 hours is going to be a little stressful.
Yeah, it's definitely been stressful because you second guess everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like checking back the sources, checking back this and that. So.
Well, knowing what you have going on, we truly appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us a little bit. And I know that the teachers listening are also very appreciative.
Well,
All right, so like we mentioned throughout the episode, everything that we've talked about, all of the books that we mentioned today, all of our suggestions can all be found on our website.
and through the Wakelet that we share with you guys. Michelle and I would love to hear what you are reading now and what you're reading next. So leave us a comment and let us know what you're reading and let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about. See y'all later.